I ignored my instincts once, just once. Now I sleep with a baseball bat beside my bed. It was an ordinary Tuesday evening when I left the downtown library at closing time. I'd stayed late working on my thesis, and the streets were emptier than I expected. As I walked toward the bus stop, I noticed a man in a dark jacket about half a block behind me. Nothing unusual, we were headed in the same direction, but something felt wrong. A prickling sensation crawled up my neck. When I crossed the street unnecessarily, he crossed too. When I slowed down, he slowed down. When I stopped to pretend to check my phone, he suddenly became very interested in a store window display. I told myself I was being paranoid. Women are always told we're overreacting, right? So I ignored the screaming alarm in my head and continued to my bus stop. The bus was late. The man stood about 30 feet away, occasionally glancing in my direction. When my bus finally arrived, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I boarded, sat near the driver, and watched through the window as the man remained at the stop. Then just as the doors were closing, he suddenly jumped on. My heart dropped. He sat several rows behind me, but I could feel his eyes on the back of my head. I had planned to ride to my stop near my apartment complex, but that sick feeling in my stomach was getting stronger. On impulse, I got off the bus early at a busy convenience store with bright lights and people. He stayed on the bus. Again, I felt foolish, but instead of continuing home, I bought a coffee and called my roommate. "Hey, can you come get me? I am at the 7-Eleven on Maple, just being cautious," I replied. While waiting, I positioned myself where I could see both the street and the store's security camera monitor behind the counter. 20 minutes later, my roommate pulled up. As we drove home, I finally relaxed. "I feel stupid," I admitted. "There was this guy I thought was following me, but he stayed on the bus." We pulled into our apartment complex, and my roommate parked in her usual spot. As we walked toward our building, I froze. There he was, the same man, standing in the shadows near the building entrance, looking at his phone as if waiting for someone. "That's him," I whispered, grabbing my roommate's arm. Without hesitation, she turned us around. "We're not going in there." We drove straight to the police station. The officer took my statement, but seemed unconvinced. "Did he threaten you? Say anything to you at all?" "Ma'am, being in the same public places isn't a crime." We ended up staying in a hotel that night. The next morning, we asked the apartment manager to check security footage. What we saw chilled me to the bone. The footage showed the man getting off at the very next bus stop after mine, then immediately hailing a taxi. The taxi dropped him off at our apartment complex 20 minutes before we arrived. For over an hour, he moved between different hiding spots around our building, always returning to the entrance. When we didn't show up, the footage showed him trying the front door, which was thankfully locked. Then he walked around the building, checking windows. He found my bedroom window identifiable by the string lights I had hanging, and spent several minutes there before finally leaving. The police took it seriously then. They identified him as a recently released offender with a history of stalking and home invasions. He had no connection to me. I was simply a random target he'd selected at the library. They caught him 3 days later, attempting the same pattern with another woman. I later learned that the average predator will follow their target for 7 to 15 minutes. If you change your routine and they're still there after 30 minutes, it's not coincidence. That feeling in your stomach, the prickling on your neck, that's not paranoia. That's not paranoia. It's your body's alarm system refined over thousands of years of evolution. It's detecting subtle abnormalities your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. I don't care if I seem rude or paranoid anymore. I don't care if I hurt someone's feelings by crossing the street, changing direction, or refusing to hold an elevator, because I now know what could have happened if I'd gone home that night and dismissed that voice in my head as just being silly. Trust your instincts. They're trying to save your life.